of my journey is I've done a lot of different things. So my perspective is not just as a technology CEO or as a serial entrepreneur or as a marketer, right? Or as a sales professional. I use all of those different facets of my career to now create compelling advice, insight, and recommendations for companies because I pull from a lot of different experiences and people that I've met really across the globe.
Welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Just sit back, relax, and learn from the leaders of today. It's a journey. Each one is different, unique, inspiring. Let's get started.
20-Minute Leaders is a proud supporter of Make-A-Wish Israel and Tech to Peace, and is in proud collaboration with Secret Chord Ventures, J Ventures, Riverside FM, Fusion VC, Birthright Excel, J Impact, Leap, Google for Startups, and Hippo, and in media partnership with CTech. Hello and welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Today I'm with Donald Thompson, the CEO of the Diversity Movement, a results-oriented, data-driven strategic firm offering clients a productized DE&I journey built on digital learning tools, expertly curated content, conversational AI, and analytics. The company was recently named to Inc. magazine's 2021 Best in Business list in DE&I Advocacy. In addition, Donald serves as a board member for several organizations in marketing, healthcare, banking, technology, and sports. Donald is an entrepreneur, public speaker, author, podcaster, certified diversity executive, and executive coach. He is a thought leader on goal achievement, influencing company culture, and driving exponential growth. He has led companies that attained successful exits with strong returns for shareholders and employees. And he writes a leadership column for WRAL TechWire, and has contributed to entrepreneur.com and CNBC.com.
Donald, I'm really excited to talk to you in these 20 minutes about your own journey, about diversity, about you as a thought leader in the field, what you've learned, the different insights that you've brought in this domain, and how you work with different organizations and different mechanisms. So thank you again for being here. Tell me a little bit about yourself, about your work, and the different things that excite you.
Yeah. So personally, I'm the son of a football coach in American football is what I would describe. And one of the things that means is that teamwork is very important to me. Competing is very important, but also the ability to get up when you get knocked down. And so that's something that's built from my foundation from the ground up. I started my career in the software space in technology sales, and then rose through the ranks and ended up leading and exiting a handful of software technology companies. And then moved into being the CEO of a digital marketing firm, and then have recently spun out and built the Diversity Movement, to where we're focused on linking diversity, equity, inclusion to building better businesses, both financially, from a cultural standpoint, and then also impact in the community.
Now, diversity, inclusion, how obviously this is something that we talk about a lot over the last few years, especially, which is fantastic. How did you get into the space from a leadership perspective, into a place where you're saying, I want to move the needle here?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when I was running a marketing agency, I had customers that were asking us, how do we create multicultural content, right? How do we upgrade our website to be more attractive and authentic to more and broader groups of individuals? How do we create selling strategies for the LGBTQ community? And we were happy to do these things from an optic standpoint, but we also saw that a lot of these companies were just applying a Band-Aid approach, right? Just checking the box, so to speak. So I asked some of the companies, would you like to think about diversity, equity, inclusion from the inside out of your organization so that you're living the messaging that you're portraying? And the companies, by and large, were absolutely, but we've not run into an organization that understands our business, our brand, and diversity, equity, inclusion. And so as an entrepreneur, I was like, wait a minute. I've been in the technology space, right? I've been in the marketing space, right? I've been in the consulting space, right? So I have some business acumen, right? I'm an African-American leader, so I understand some lived experience from diversity. And I understand how to link my actions to business outcomes.
Right.
So this might be an area to where we can make an impact. And so what we wanted to do then is create tools and technologies that folks that were looking at DEI could leverage, so that diversity, equity, inclusion wasn't just a training seminar, but it was a part of the fabric of the business. and helped you win in the marketplace, right? For example, if you're a sales leader and you have a more diverse sales team, there are numbers that show your win percentage will be higher. What sales leader doesn't want a higher win percentage?
Sure.
If you are looking at growing your business from a brand and a marketing standpoint, and now all of a sudden you've integrated DEI into your brand strategy and you've expanded the marketplace for your product, now all of a sudden you have more larger arenas to sell into. So our goal with the diversity movement is how do we link DEI to measurable business outcomes?
All right. So let's dive into that. So you already made a clear distinction here that this is not just a training seminar. This is not just information about what to do. This is actually digging into the specific KPIs and, of an organization and figuring out how to say, okay, yes, let's align incentives. Let's maximize your winning, right? And let's do that through, the way that, through the DEI, what DEI provides, and we'll talk about that in a second. But the idea is that let's create a system of incentives in which, we're both promoting diversity and inclusion, but we do that. And if from your perspective, it's optimizing for winning, right?
That's right. And I think that's how you get leadership stakeholders' attention,
right,
buy-in, and motivation. Right?
Sure.
Attention is one thing. Buy-in, well, I can buy in as a leader. I can write a check. Okay, go do something with DEI. Fantastic. But my engagement as a leader is what moves the needle for transformation projects inside any organization. Whether you are a 10-person startup, 10,000 person, or 100,000 person organization, the drumbeat of the business is based on the focus and commitment areas of the CEO. And so that means we had to create diversity, equity, inclusion and transition it to a language that the C-suite could understand. And that means action and outcomes, right? Not just theory and dialogue.
Right. Okay. So how does that actually work? Walk me through sort of the process of you with an organization. How does that actually come about?
So let's say you're an organization. Let's just use 100 people for sake of a size of organization, right? You've got 30 to 40 different priorities, but really only 3 to 4 of them can really move the needle at once. So what we do is we tie DEI into already existing transformational plans of the organization. So if you're launching a new product, then we look at the marketing and the branding of that new product to ensure that you have the ability to market that product on a broader landscape. If you're looking to increase the quality of your leaders in the organization, then we look at the demographics, the schools, the different things that you're recruiting from, and increase the number of applicants because now you're looking at an expanded market. If you're looking at retention, for example, the data that we've captured over the last couple of years, working with thousands and thousands of organizations, is very simple. Mentoring, sponsorship, and career mapping is the number one lever that you can pull to retain your high-performing people. Because most people don't leave organizations, they leave managers and they leave for better career opportunity. But if you have a personalized career plan with your high-performing employee, now all of a sudden you're going to increase retention. That works across all the different demographics. So again, we want to take diversity, equity, inclusion and focus on the building a better business. And then when we build better businesses, we want to have outcomes in compliance. For example, reduction in lawsuits and litigation. We want to have examples in increasing sales and revenue. We want to have examples in brand presence, which you can measure, and authority of your brand. And so if we keep things to those things that we can measure, it gives time for those things that take longer in terms of belonging and feeling in the organization so that the executives don't lose motivation to continue. Because DEI is a journey, but you got to give people milestones and mile markers along any journey, right? Or they get discouraged.
And what incentivizes an organization or an executive team to come and say, okay, now we want to work with DEI? In other words, do they come to you? Do you go to them? Is there an aha moment that they wake up and say, okay, do we need this? How does one decide to now go on this journey or this partnership with you?
All right. So there's a couple levels to that. And it's a wonderful question. So one is the social environment in our country. DEI is a macro level topic. right? So some executives say, well, what are we doing with DEI, right? That's kind of the follow the leader type thought process. You could also be crisis driven, meaning you have an incident or something inside your business, right, that affects you. For example, there was an advertising campaign by Dove, right, that portrayed African Americans in a light that was not very positive, and they got a lot of backlash, but they fixed it. They worked on it. That's a crisis orientation. You could have a gender-related issue in your organization where you have an employee that is transitioning and they're not treated well, and you have some litigious issues associated with that. So you could have some chaos drivers, right? Or crisis.
Right.
But you could also have some competitive drivers to where organizations see that if you expand your recruiting base, if you have a diverse leadership, you're going to be more innovative. You're going to have better time to market. You're going to win more in the marketplace. And that goes back to that winning percentage of homogeneous sales teams versus heterogeneous sales teams, right? It has the advantage of 70% of people that are looking for jobs today look at the DEI footprint of the company before they sign on with the company. So if people are the engine that drives your innovation, growth as a business, your sustainability, then you have to respond favorably to the things they're using as a say yes criteria, both as an employee and as a consumer.
Right. Tell me a little bit about your journey. You mentioned a little bit of the milestones before. Let's dive in a little bit as to your personal journey and what sort of is your connecting the dots backwards, as Steve Jobs liked to say.
Yeah, that's a beautiful way to phrase the question. And, I think of myself as a business development leader, first and foremost, no matter what I'm doing. I love creating value for clients through things that I can position or market or sell. That's my gifting. And so one of the reasons that we've been successful in the diversity movement and growing from 0 to 100 clients over the last 12 to 18 months is because we think about things in terms of how are we going to help businesses grow, provide massive value and impact, right? And the right thing to do should also equal the right thing for your business to grow profitably. So back to your question on me and my journey, I'm a sales professional at heart, and I love connecting with people. The second thing, a part of my journey, is I've done a lot of different things. So my perspective is not just as a technology CEO or as a serial entrepreneur or as a marketer, right? Or as a sales professional. I use all of those different facets of my career to now create compelling advice, insight, and recommendations for companies because I pull from a lot of different experiences and people that I've met really across the globe throughout my career.
Wow. And if you're looking at your vision that you're setting for yourself moving forward, what type of impact do you wish to have yourself? So, tangibly, how are you thinking through the decisions that you're making, on a regular basis? What sort of guides you and what is the vision that you are setting for your own impact?
Yeah, thank you so much. One of the things that I'm continuing to work in, but also very proud, is the number of women executives that I work with have helped promoted and lead the companies that I've invested in or am on the board of. And so I feel very fortunate with some of my own privilege in life in having the opportunity to open some doors, create some opportunities for others that may have not been seen in the same way. That's number one. The second thing that I would say in terms of kind of my career impact is I enjoy the work that I do as an executive coach, a counselor to business executives. Leading an organization, whether it's 5 people or 50,000, is a lonely place. And so you don't always have someone you can talk to that's been in the chair that you're sitting in. And so I really enjoy my time working with business leaders, helping them solve tough problems and being that trusted confidant that can help them find the answer. I don't have all the answers, but I enjoy the part of my career where I help executives find the right answers for them and for their organization.
So from your experience, what are some of the key challenges that leaders are facing when it comes to diversity and inclusion that you help them overcome? Because I'm sure there are some overarching patterns that are coming about, especially for young leaders, first-time entrepreneurs, let's say like myself, that we have these challenges that a lot of others have faced, and there are probably different schools of thought of how we can think about them. And I'd love to leave with the last few minutes understanding a little bit about what we can tangibly do to start answering these questions, or even to know how to ask them.
Yeah, that's a great point. To say it in a phrase, right, is helping CEOs balance empathy and economics. Because the world is asking C-suite leaders now to not only address the financial bottom line, but really the triple bottom line, which is people
right.
and profit. And that's not something that is traditionally taught in school. That's not a skill set that's been developed. And so leaders sometimes feel stuck between those competing standards. And so let me give you some examples of tangible things you can take away. One of the things I've had to learn as a leader is how to give and receive feedback. We often over the years talked about the sandwich method, right? Say something good, say something coaching, say something good. When the reality is most people only hear the negative. So since most people only hear the negative, right, then that means we have to learn how to share the gap between current performance and expectation, and partner with the individual on how to close that gap. So to me, not about just what you describe to the individual. It's what is that business plan, that partnership plan, that cohort coaching plan with that individual to say, John, here's a gap between our revenue today and where we said we would be. There's some things that you can do, but also as a leader, here are a couple things I can do to bring to the table a better result. We can't lower the standard, but we can chase the standard together. That's different kind of feedback than you didn't hit your number. If you don't hit your number again, you're going to be on a PIP. If you're on a PIP for 90 days, we're going to have to let you go. That's very different in terms of now we're co-owning the challenge and working on it together. The second thing that I would say is your organization responds to what you amplify and your behaviors. So leaders can model inclusive language before they fully understand all this DEI stuff. Instead of saying, you guys, say everyone. Instead of saying man hours when you're talking about a software development product, say person hours. Just being more thoughtful in the language choices we make can start you on a daily journey to get more productivity, more production, more belonging from the people that you're responsible to lead.
And so are these things that you actively work with the leadership team? How, at what stage do you bring those up? Because I'm sure these are kind of universal things that you'd want to make sure that all the leaders you work with, they sort of have at least, I guess the basics of, you were talking about like language and vocabulary. I mean, this sounds like a pretty fundamental idea that every leader probably can improve on regardless of where they're at today, because this is something that's changed over the last several years.
That's exactly right. And so to your point, we want to create some small wins for people in their DEI journey, and then they'll develop momentum for larger tasks and initiatives. Sometimes I think with diversity, equity, inclusion, we lose people with, diversity bingo and all these words and different things, when really we need to link it to some critical behaviors that everyone can get better tomorrow. And so number one, if you go to the diversitymovement.com, we have a ton of free resources. We're a for-profit business, but our goal is to have a mission-based business to create better workplaces. So we have over 30 webinars for free. We have guides, a calendar on DEI events for free, sample micro videos, because making money is after you build trust and credibility and show value to people. And so we want to make sure that we provide high octane education for folks to get started. And then when they're ready to invest in DEI, we are one of the partners, a part of their selection set. But even if we're not, we provided them great value of how they can get started, because we believe that much in how it helps business, our society, and our fellow employees in the trenches.
So just to close, I guess, the thought of, making an impact later on, if we're looking at where things are heading and, if we're looking down the line, do you see a major impact happening through organizations in the style of DEI, sort of like these service organizations, although you also have a product which makes it actually very integrative? Is that the way to really move the needle here, or is it more more so that things are just going to change culturally, and this is going to become sort of common knowledge that, eventually 20 years down the line, everybody will have. How do you see this playing out here?
Yeah. So one of the things is we try to provide insight in the same manner that people learn in their personal lives. So for example, most people are familiar with YouTube. Most people get information from podcasts. Most people will get information through search and through the internet. So we have a library of over 600 2 to 3 minute video snippets where people can learn DEI topics 2 to 3 minutes at a time. So that way they can learn in a familiar fashion, right? That they learn new things on YouTube, on TikTok, on different things, right? And so our goal is to provide tools and technology in the marketplace to make DEI learning fun, informative, and time sensitive.
I love it. Donald, thank you so much for taking the time to be here and for sharing these insights and stories with me. I highly, highly appreciate it and appreciate your time and your energy. So thank you very much. Best of luck with DEI, with the book, and with everything else you're doing. And thank you again for the time and energy here.
It was great to be with you, and thanks for the space and time on your show.
Thank you. I appreciate it.